Welcome back to the Sustainable Creator Podcast. If you are new here, we are smack dab in the middle of a series on websites right now where we've had a lot of people in our life ask about building a website or what does it look like to build authority on a website. And so we've been going week by week with different experts that we know on different topics related to your website. And it's been a really fantastic series so far. And I'm really excited about today's episode in particular because we're sitting down with Priscilla, who is part of the duo behind Kinfolk Creative, where we're going to talk all about copywriting. So Priscilla is known as the copy girl. Her husband and business partner, Zach, is the SEO guy. Together, they make a really fantastic duo in helping creatives to really be more visible and known in their own areas of expertise online. They do such a great job. We've been able to see their work and can just speak for that. So I'm really excited for today. You guys are in for a treat. Welcome to the show, Priscilla.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be recording with y'all today.
Same. Why don't we start with, for you, what is website copy?
Yeah, I like the most simple definition. It's literally the words on your website.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay. And then I know that you guys have quite the process, which I appreciate a lot. And we're going to get into a couple of the strategies today because we love strategy. But where in the website process should you hire a copywriter? Does that come before working with a web designer? Is it at the same time? Is it after? Like, what have you found to be the most advantageous?
Yeah, I always recommend website copy before web design because the copy is going to influence the design. And how it's going to influence the design is like how much spacing you need in between sections, depending on how much copy you have. Whereas if you are doing it the opposite way, website design first and then copy, it's likely going to happen that you're either going to have copy that won't fit in the design space, or it's going to limit the copy that can be fit into the design because you only have so much room to work with on a website. So it's better to just start with copy first, say what you want to say, and then have the design really just kind of lift that up and make it beautiful.
So if I think about that of like you want to figure out what you want on the website, before you write any words, what are all the things you need to know?
Yes, this is a really good question because I think that a lot of people go into like a brand refresh with like the colors and the fonts and the logos and all of those things. And it's like a really fun, exciting process. But then when it comes to the copy, you're like, I don't know what to say. um, and specifically like our questionnaires, like they require a lot of like deep work because we are more like I write more conversational connection focused. And so it really like I always screen those clients like ahead of time just to make sure that like they're in a good place where they're very clear on who they serve, why they are doing the work that they're doing, and what their unique perspective is and life experience and how they want to tie that all together in the copy. And I know that copywriters have all their own individual processes, but I think for me, it's important to just really be clear on kind of what you want to say, because if you aren't, then you're probably not going to get copy that you love.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that you guys take a conversational approach in your copy because if I think about just the day and age that we are in, that connection piece is so incredibly important. You want to have trust with the person that you're investing in, which I know is something that you care a lot about too. Why are there so many benefits to conversational copy in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the obvious answers is that you are requesting, like, if you are just any type of service provider or business, you're requesting a lot of trust when they hit that, when they like go and submit their inquiry. And a lot of times those services are not cheap. And the copy is really a crucial part because you are able to answer all of their questions ahead of time. You're able to help with any type of objections that they might have. You're also able to give them a little bit of an insight into who you are as a person or a service provider or a creative that they're going to be working with, so that they can get a picture of what it would be like when they work with you. And I think that's really important because, especially if you have more of a relational approach to working with folks, then you want to like this is your like first impression. You want
Right.
to set the stage for like how warm and excited you are to work with them. And if your copy is reading very professional or kind of uptight, or just like here's all the nitty-gritty details, that doesn't really show the relational part of what it would be like to work with you. It's just giving them
Yeah.
the deliverables.
This is something that you guys do really well in your emails, which we love your guys' email. Like both you and Zach do such a great job at packing personality into what you share every week while showcasing your authority. And I'm really curious about how do you create that intersection, because there's a lot to be said about the conversational piece while also showing your authority and helping someone to see like why they would hire you. And then there's also the SEO side, which I know Zach does really well. So can you talk a little bit about the triangle of those three things? Like how do they work together?
Yeah, I love how you use the visual of a triangle versus like them in their own individual silos, because
Shout out to Lyndon for that.
because that is so true. Like we see that connection, that intersection of copy, SEO, and personality all together as well. And I think one of the biggest things is, I'm going to use Zach as an example because I kind of took Wednesday Ken, our newsletter, from him, and made him start his own SEO focused newsletter. And for the listeners here, Wednesday Ken is a copy focused email, and me and Zach would kind of like argue during the week of like who gets to tell the story and what's gonna be. And so then I was like, you know what, like we need to just separate these two things. And also shout out to Joe and Lyndon for giving us that idea of decoupling. So
Happy to help. Didn't even know we did, but glad we
talk
could.
about decoupling a lot.
But yeah, like I was like, ooh, let's do it on Sunday because Wednesday comes out on Wednesday. And he was like, okay, yeah, like, I mean, I'm saying he was like, okay, yeah, but like, obviously there's a lot that went into it. He was definitely not like super on board. But I was like, yeah, it can be called like Sunday Scaries. And he was like, okay. And as we like got more clear about like what would Zach even like, what stories would he even share on Sundays, it was very clear that he didn't want to talk about Sunday Scaries. Like that just wasn't the vibe. And that's not something that he felt excited about. And I think that's one of the biggest clues when you are thinking about conversational copy is why are you writing what you want to write, or what are you communicating and why do you want to communicate that? Because if you're just communicating in a particular way because you see everyone else communicating that way and it's working for them, you're going to lose a lot of the passion and the heart and the soul behind what you're even saying, because it's going to be so unaligned with what you actually want to communicate. And so fast forward, it's not called, our Sunday newsletter is not called Sunday Scaries. It's called Scratch SEO. And it's because my husband loves golf. And so the stories are now related to golf. And that's something that he gets really excited about. And he somehow can connect it to SEO. So I love
That's
that.
incredible.
I think one of the things that I found really interesting is like in the prep questionnaire we sent over this, like we asked about hot takes, and like one of the things that you had said was like you don't think that AI is killing copy. You think it's just another version of copying what other people are doing. And I think it's really interesting, like in that personality point of view of like writing things that are specific to you is not necessarily like a new problem to solve. It's just something that people haven't really had to like personally solve for themselves in a long time, because it's become really easy to copy everyone else with AI just averaging all the other websites on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely think that that's a juicy topic because there's a lot of conversation around AI right now, specifically with copy in blogging. And I mean, I've been blogging since 2018. Like I was blogging when it was not cool to blog. It was like cringe, walking around Indianapolis with my tripod, like that type of cringe. Right. And I just was doing it because it was fun. And I think that over the last few years, I think a lot of companies and businesses have kind of leaned a little bit more into just like burn and churn like content. And it's not like, when I was thinking about this question in particular, I was thinking about like, there are so many blogs out there that basically just regurgitate the same thing, even before AI. Like, it was kind of like almost a Frankenstein version of like 4 blog posts, and then they slap it on their website and it's new, fresh content. That's, this like marvelous idea. But that was never like, AI is essentially just doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, to your point, Landon, like thinking about kind of, I feel like there's almost kind of some excavation that needs to happen in regards to our conversations about AI as creators and service providers, specifically with writing copy, because I think that the problem is more so a lot of people are afraid of actually being seen and heard and exposed through their business, especially if you're building a personal brand. And unfortunately, like regurgitating information from a blog or using AI, like that's just slapping a band-aid on the problem. It's not actually addressing what's actually happening and why you have a problem with AI, or, you know, just copy and pasting what everyone else in your industry is doing.
Yeah. I would love to talk more about the fear around being seen piece. But maybe let's come back to that. So I'm planting the seed for our audience on that. Like, we're going to come back to that in just a minute, because I want to talk about your process to copywriting. Like, you have a 5-step process that kind of ties into all of this. And I think we'll expand on a lot of what we've been talking about and just give it more structure. So at a brief overview, can you just share the 5 steps first, and then we can dive into each one?
Yeah. So our process is, we have like questionnaires. I don't say little, they're really long. I always keep a little gift card. I'm like, go treat yourself to something fun while you fill this out, because we doing it for at least an hour. But yeah, our process through those questionnaires are looking at the roots. So that's like, like, why does your business exist? Like, what experiences do you have as a founder? What do you want to communicate? Things like that. And then we have the people. That's the second one. And that's more so just, like, who's your audience? What are they thinking, feeling, fearing? What are they trying to figure out? Why do they want to work with you? What problem are you solving? That type of gist. And then we have the landscape. The landscape is kind of taking a look at like what everyone else in your industry is saying, and what do you align with? What do you not align with? And this is actually one of the sections that a lot of our clients get stuck in, because they're like, wait, I actually don't really like this, but I say it.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of our process in our kickoff call is really kind of like working through that, to really understand, like, okay, like, if you don't really align with this, then what do you want to say differently?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the 4th step is just your offers. What are your deliverables? What are you offering? And the 5th step is the path forward. So that's, like, what does each job have? This is kind of more into like Zach's lane, because SEO does have a job in website copy. And also in the copy piece of like, what do you want the reader to understand, or what do you want them to do next? Each page should have, or even like each section really, but like each page has a job. And so how do you want to guide them through your website? Like, what do you want that process or that experience to be like for them?
If we start at the beginning in roots, first off, I love this. I love a good process. I'm so happy that you shared us your process. You're speaking my love language. If we start at the roots at the beginning, someone with a corporate background, I see you like questions like, why does this exist? It, in my mind, is like, is this just mission statement, like vision? What's your big purpose? Or how do you think about like making this personal to each business that you're working with?
So it is a mix of both. And part of our experience with clients working with us is we have a brand messaging questionnaire, and then we have the copy questionnaire. They have the option to add on a brand messaging guide. But I'm doing that for every single project regardless, because like, while it's really awesome to have like a mission statement and your like unique POV and like, just listed out all of those different pieces, who your, ICA is, like your ideal client avatar, like all those different pieces. That's only like step one of copy. And so with that, I take that information and then I also take their copy questionnaire and I look for patterns. I look for the engagement on their socials, what they like about their current website, any type of copy that they have that they're like, this was me. Like, this was me at like 11 a.m. or 11 p.m., wherever, whatever time, where I was like really passionate about sharing this topic. I'm really looking for those types of moments throughout all of their copy and their content ecosystem so that I can get a better picture of like, okay, what are you actually trying to communicate in this? And what was the goal? Because they're like, if it's a self-fulfilling goal, then unfortunately our readers are very selfish and they want to be reading something that's for them, not for you. And so like, how can we take this perspective and make it valuable for them? And so it is, I think like even just trying to explain it out loud, it's very complex, but a lot of it comes through just collaboration with me and the client so that I can really understand what they're trying to communicate.
My perspective of like working with a copywriter is it would be so helpful to have like that mirror. We do the same thing with coaching. It's like we're a mirror for our clients to kind of mirror back what we are seeing in them. Is that a similar role that you take with your copy clients?
Definitely. I think there's been just even the last like few projects, there's been a lot of times where I'm like, this doesn't even make sense to me. It's not going to make sense to your reader.
Yeah.
And like I was their ideal client, like, and I'm thinking about my clients that were, bookkeepers or like a hair salon or more of those like service-based businesses that I'm like, like you're just speaking in a completely different language that I do not even understand.
Interesting.
And to you, it's very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I'm like, I don't even know what this means. So how is your reader going to know what this means?
Yeah, that's so incredibly helpful to have that outside perspective, that extra set of eyes.
I think that leads us to like step 2 of your framework. Like the people part that you're talking about here is like when you think about defining an ICA for someone that you're working with, how granular do you go on who is this person? Because it's very easy to be like, oh, they're a millennial, they're probably female, they have 2 pets, and they like coffee. And that's where a lot of people stop. And so you thinking about getting into your clients' heads before writing any copy, how granular are you on those people?
Yeah, honestly, those examples, I don't even like put that in their ICA because I think that when you focus on those types of characteristics, you lose the plot. And
Mm,
what I mean by that is you're focusing on their outward appearance or like how they're presenting themselves. And a lot of times when they're coming to your website for a solution, they're looking for problems that maybe they haven't even like outwardly like shared. They're looking for you to solve something that no one even probably knows about, or maybe only their closest friends and family know about. And so I think that's where a lot of my experience and kind of the therapy world comes into play because I'm really looking for where would they be at when they need your service, or what would they be doing when they need your service? That's more so what I'm looking at for their when I'm like kind of, creating their ideal avatar.
I think one of my favorite frames for that I heard at Crafted Commerce that we went to a couple months ago is the idea of like a lot of people talk about transformations, but someone was like, you should actually care about the crossroads that someone is at when they want to work with you because they're actively making a decision, feeling something needs to change. And that's when people make investments, not when they like want something off in the distance because they're feeling something right now, which sounds like exactly like what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I think that it, kind of pairs really well with copy because like, you're asking them to be very vulnerable when they're inquiring with you to share like what they need help with and how you can help them. And so, yeah, it's it's an interesting perspective to just see like how the ICA in the business world has kind of transitioned to be a little bit more, I don't know, like more like identity soul work versus just
Yeah.
like what they look like and what their aesthetic and music they listen to or what their coffee order is.
Right, right. It's going so much deeper. Which, how does that then carry over into the landscape portion? Because so far, it's been a lot of you want to be rooted in your role, what you are standing for, your beliefs, your values, and you need to be crystal clear on what your people are craving, asking for, going through, et cetera, et cetera. So when you say you also want to look at the landscape of what everyone else is saying, like how does that tie into the first two things? And why is it so important?
Yeah, I think I'll answer that last question first and then I'll go back to your first one. I think that it is important because there is a lot of business owners who kind of start in this copy process and they're like, okay, this is exactly what I want to say. And here's some competitors' websites, and this is what I like about them, and yada, yada, yada. And I cannot tell you how many times I literally get on the call and I'm like, I love that you shared these competitor websites. I love how you're using them for a reference, but I do not care what they have on their website. I want to know what you want to say. And sure, like you can have some inspiration for like, like, yeah, like I really align with like this point that they say here. But my question specifically in this landscape space are, what are your icks? What would you say if you wouldn't get judged about your industry?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
what can you tell me that really bugs you right now that your competitors are saying, but you want to say something differently, but you're just too afraid to say it? Those are the things that I'm asking and looking for in the landscape. And then I'm doing my own individual research on, okay, like this is what everyone is saying. And I'm looking at their Instagrams, like their socials in general. I'm looking at their websites, any like podcasts that they're in. Like it's a really deep dive because a lot of the time I come across 5 different tabs and they're all saying the exact same thing. It's just worded slightly different. I'm like, okay, like this isn't what we're wanting to work with. And so it's very clear to me to see like, okay, this is your ick and this is what is currently presented in the industry. And how can you take that ick and turn it into an authority, like a brand positioning that differentiates you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting. I am currently reading the book Life at the Speed of Play by the founder of Zynga. If you ever played Farmville, that's his thing. In the foreword, he talks about like the foreword is written by the founder of LinkedIn, and he talks about like he asks every founder 2 questions, like what is the game you're playing and what's your theory of the game, which I think is such an interesting frame that a lot of people forget of like the game you're playing like forces you to define of like these are my competitors, this is the space I'm in, and this is like the landscape. But like the second question of like what is your theory of the game is like if you're planning on winning, you have to have a perspective. You can't just copy everyone else. And a lot of people struggle with that. And because like since I have read that, I've asked a couple people and like you can see that they just kind of like lock up because they're like, I don't actually know if I have a theory of the game that's different than other people. And that gets really hard to start differentiating if you're just playing the game the same as everyone else.
Exactly. And it also gets difficult to grow your business or scale your business because maybe you get to a place where, you've kind of used a lot of the same principles or the language, or, you've followed your business coach to a T and how they ran their business. But now you're at this point where like, oh, like I want something a little bit different, but you don't have anyone to look at for that. And so then you
Mm. What was
Mm-hmm.
what was that trending audio that went around a few years ago of like, let me just add a little spice. That's what I'm thinking of right now. Like add a little bit of your flavor, right? It doesn't have to be, I think your term was beige, which I thought was fantastic. And yeah, I'm a big fan of this. So when it comes to the offer that people are selling, we've gotten really clear on everything that leads up to that, the foundations, if you will, of someone's ethos as a brand. How does that then factor into the offer? Does anything need to be adjusted with the offer itself, or is it more about how people then talk about their offers?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. And I think one of the things, I know I'm saying that for every single question, but it's because every single question has a nuance.
Mm-hmm.
And I am unfortunately not the black and white girly to talk to because I'm always like, gray. um, but I think that it does influence the way you talk about your offers, because when you can put your own lived experience or your perspective into the mix of why you've created the offer, you're automatically going to stand out and you're going to connect with a lot more people versus, just like putting out the offer and sharing, this is for so and so. And like they're seeing that over and over again across multiple platforms. And the conversation that's going to actually stop them in their tracks is going to be the one that they're like, where they feel convicted by. They're like, oh, this is actually like, I haven't told anyone about this, and they're literally speaking to me. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the moment where you can really tie in your overall messaging into your offers so that you can easily really just like connect and convert those ideal clients.
I think it's interesting, like in how you wrote about your process when you sent this over beforehand. You wrote the words like, "What are you actually selling?" beyond like service, service, service. And so, like, how do you think about like putting the bounds around an offer if it's not just like, this is a photo package, you get 2 hours and you get 100 photos?
Yeah. I challenge a lot of I work with a lot of photographers, and I challenge them a lot because a lot of them want to just copy and paste their service guide onto the
Mm-hmm.
services page, and they're like, put the price and then wipe their hands clean and they're on to the next page. And so with them in particular, I always challenge them to not do that. Because at the end of the day, you're offering something very similar to all the other photographers in the space. And at that point, they're going to have 10 tabs open and they're just going to be price shopping, and they're looking at, okay, this package comes with film, this package comes with Super 8. But if they're the
Mm-hmm.
same price, which one do I want more? Or they're looking like it just like it takes away the actual reason why they would want to work with you. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's just by human nature, right? Like we're spending money on something, and at that point we're comparing like what is the better decision right now.
Yeah.
And when you're only presenting that, it's making the decision a lot easier for them, because maybe this other photographer is actually going through like, okay, this is an experience that you're going to get with me, and they have a lot more like objections, they have a lot more testimonials, they have maybe a specific way of how they work with their clients. They're just a lot more intentional in how they're writing their services page versus client A who has just listed the deliverables.
Yeah. Yeah. You're also reminding me of one thing I see a lot of photographers do in particular, which this does has nothing to do with copy, but it ties into that trust factor. A lot of photographers will only share their portfolio, especially on Instagram, and there's not a single photo of what they look like. And for me, I would never hire a photographer if I didn't know anything about you. Like, it sounds so counterintuitive, but I want to see your face and know a bit about you so that I do have that trust that is starting to build. And then I'm curious about learning more about your process. And it sounds like it's very similar with the copy when it comes to your offer and your deliverables. Is you want to really lean into why someone would work with you and what they could expect in working with you. And those pieces drive the curiosity into more of the specifics. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it also makes their decision making a lot more clearer, and they're a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more confident when they are actually inquiring because they have a bigger picture of
Mm.
what their experience would be like working with you.
Mm-hmm.
If I think about the last step in your process, and then we can go on to other questions, the path forward. If I am a overly simpleton, the path forward is the buy now button. And I'm sure you have a much more complicated answer than that as a copywriter.
Yeah. So there's different types of people. And this kind of gets into, like the psychology of purchase, or, buyer psychology. And there's definitely going to be people that are more so, like, okay, like where do I inquire? And there's also going to be, on the other side of the spectrum, there's going to be people that are a little bit more skeptical, and they need to really read through every single word of your website. And they're
Mm-hmm.
starting from the home page to the about page, then they're going to your portfolio, and then their services page. Maybe they're going back to your portfolio before they make it to the contact page. Maybe they're even reading a few blogs. Like, who knows? They are very skeptical, and they have to feel 100% sure that this feels aligned and that they are going to make a good decision. And then there's also the people that are, like, okay, like I've read through the homepage, everything sounds good. I looked at the services page and I'm ready to book. So with each section, I always kind of think about all of those different types of buyers to make sure that there is still a path forward for all types. So typically on the homepage, like I'm linking to the portfolio, I'm linking to services, I'm linking to the blog, I'm linking to contact, your about page, like any and every page that you can possibly go to is on the homepage. And then from there, I'm looking at like, okay, what would the ideal client, where would they want to go next after they read the about page? Because some people don't even care about the about page. Some people go to services and then they're ready to book. They've read enough. They're like, okay, this is cool. But where would the people go from the about page? Looking at portfolio, maybe looking at some blog posts, and then maybe heading to services page, and then also contact. And then same thing with all of those different pages. So I kind of go through that process through each page based off of all of the work that we've done before, because that sets the stage for how their readers or their ideal clients are going to interact with their content and their business or offers.
I think it's interesting, like if we, since we're in a website series and we go back to episode 1 of this website series, we talked to Macy, and she, as a website designer, was talking about the designer's role is mapping that path between pages. You're talking about that as a copywriter's role. How do you see like the interplay between a designer and a copywriter in mapping the user experience flow through a website?
Yeah, I think that one, a lot of web designers have had to take on that role because a lot of folks are kind of skipping the copy piece and they're just going right into web design and branding. And also from a web design perspective, they also are thinking about the client experience, like a user experience, and they're wanting to make sure that they're mapping all the way from homepage to contact in a seamless way that makes sense. Which is more so like the technical side. Whereas like with the copy side, I'm thinking about where are they at in their decision making and what page would they want to go to next. And that is why one of like part of our services, I'm collaborating with the designer throughout the process. So a lot of times when our clients are coming to us first, I have a extensive wireframe where I'm literally telling the designers like these are like all the SEO pieces that you need. These are like, you can very clearly see like this is a button. And also if they have any questions about that process, they can always like connect with me. And I'm not a stickler about it. Like if it makes more sense to have things designed in a particular way, that's fine, but just making sure that the flow is still there because it was put there for a reason.
Right. Well, and that makes sense. Were you a magazine girl growing up?
Yes, I have a lot of J14 magazines and magazines.
I was super into Glamour magazine. I loved it. American Girl magazine, if we're going way back. But this is reminding me of magazines were very similar. You know, you had the cover that was going to give you eye-catching titles that would pique your curiosity to read the articles inside. The articles inside, well, even before the articles, you had sections. So you could flip to the different sections you were most interested in and binge those. And then you had titles, you know, the above the fold titles that, again, piqued your curiosity so that you could go through and read what's more. And then, of course, there's the fun things like quizzes and all of that, which, yes. And websites have a very similar approach, and that the role of copy is bringing that personality, bringing people in and letting them stay. And your point earlier on how you like to read about people on their website, like you want to read all of their website. I'm the same way when it is written really well. And I live for the personality. You know, I want to hear what you stand for. I want to read your personality, hear your voice through the copy. That stands out to me. So I just thought that was like a really fun parallel, and I had a feeling you were the same.
Yes, I literally still have all of mine. I remember also just being so excited every time we would get them in the mail, like
Uh-huh.
subscription.
Oh yeah.
That was a way different experience than just,
So different.
checkout.
Yeah, it was also such a luxury too. Like if you had a subscription, you were cool. Like that's how I saw it anyway.
Since we're talking about the path forward, when you think about making a sale, like there is the two camps of like short sales page versus long sales page. And I know we had a whole episode on that, but you as a copywriter, what's your perspective on when each one should be used in a website?
Yeah, so we have a good example of this on our website. We have our copy service. We have a main services page that's just like copy, blogging, SEO. But then we just launched Zach's Scratch SEO page. And that page is a long services page. It is really freaking long. I challenged our designer in a lot of ways, having to create lots of different sections. I think in the wireframe is literally like 11 pages, which is like wild. But the reason I chose to do it that way, and this is the same philosophy that I would carry with any other client that I was working with, is a lot of our other website was built around copy. And there are a lot of different sections and pages that are already answering some of those questions, some of those objections. They're very familiar with our approach, what it would be like working with us. Whereas SEO, we don't really talk a lot about that throughout the rest of the website. And so, yeah, we could have, updated the copy to speak a little bit more to the SEO piece and had a shorter sales page. But I also wanted it to be its own thing. And so this sales page is written with copy metaphors. It has Zach's little notes with Zach's take. It has a completely different brand and vibe. And so for that service in particular, I knew that we were going to have to do a lot of selling and a lot of objection, writing a lot of copies related to their objections and what they would actually be getting out of the experience with working with Zach. I think it comes back to the ideal client and what their process is with interacting with your content, and also what you want that client experience to look like. Do they need a lot of information? Maybe that's something you can just put on a simple services page. Or is this a completely different offer that you really want to make it its own thing and really not have to answer any questions on a kickoff call? They just need to really.
Right.
I think it would be interesting to do, just looking back at your 5-step process. You just talked about Zach's SEO page. Can you give 2 or 3 sentences for each step of the process based on how you approached writing an SEO page for Zach?
Yes, I can definitely go through the 5 layers for Scratch SEO. So the roots. Why does your business exist? It exists because Zach has a passion for visibility. You're spending a lot of time and energy investing into your business, and you're wanting to work with people who you have ideal clients that you're wanting to work with. And if you are relying on social media, for example, and you're wanting to, kind of step away from that space, you are putting a lot of pressure on your social media to carry your business forward. And SEO is something that you can have running for you 24/7 on the back end.
And what about step 2 for the people?
Yep. So with this, his audience is often thinking about maybe they've built their business on social media, and now they're thinking okay, long term, maybe they've had some transitions in life. They're like maybe they're getting married, or maybe they're wanting to have kids, or maybe they're wanting to start a new business. Like there's a lot of other time commitments that are going to be steering them away from needing to be online 24/7. And now they're thinking about like, okay, like how can I run my business in a more simplified way that is still working for me? Maybe they might also be feeling a little bit overwhelmed or stressed or even confused. I know that was one of the big feelings that Zach wanted to really highlight, because there's a lot of information about SEO out there. And I know there's a section on our sales page that talks about, like what other SEO strategists are giving you and what we're not subscribing to. And this is what you're getting instead, to really just kind of build some of that trust. And then they're also trying to just figure out, is this even worth it? Like maybe they've even worked with an SEO strategist before and it didn't really go well. And now they're back to square one and they're like, is it even worth putting more time into?
So the next one, and you kind of answered this already, but the landscape that Zach is entering with this page.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things that I hear him say often to clients is SEO does not have to be as complicated as the court bros are making it. And also there's a lot of conversation about, oh, I want my business to be recommended by AI. And really what that comes back to is just having like really good SEO.
Mm-hmm.
And those are not in two different silos. Yes, there's different things that you can do. But they all come back to the core piece of like being very clear on what your business is and giving Google or the search engine the context clues that it needs to identify that for the potential search user. But also too, like thinking about some of the processes of, a lot of people in the SEO space don't really like share the ins and outs of like what they're actually changing or adjusting. And that is something that Zach loves to do. Like he loves to take the client on the journey with them of like, so at every single point, they know exactly what he's doing or what he's working on. It's very collaborative and making sure that it's aligned with their goals.
And that brings us to, what is the real offer?
Yeah, I think the real offer is yes, like you have like on paper, your SEO is improving, but what does that mean to you? And that's going to be different for each individual person, depending on whatever their goal is with increasing their SEO. And so a lot of that can be communicated by, like having more time with your family, with your friends, being able to scale your business in a different way or reach a completely different audience outside of your current marketing plan. It also just kind of adds to the content ecosystem. We're really big on that because when you have a place for all of your business things to land, everything else starts to support each other. And we're also seeing that even too in this like new era of social media with AI and SEO. Like now you can actually make your social media post SEO optimized. And so then that just gives Google or the search engine a lot more context when it's connecting back to what you're already saying on your website. And so that really just increases your authority, especially when things are consistent across all marketing platforms.
And the last part is, what about the path forward?
Yeah, so each page of SEO or each page of your website has an SEO purpose. Whether you're targeting a very specific word. But you're also helping them understand, one, SEO does not have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be confusing, and you can be a part of the process. And it also invites you to kind of experiment with, okay, like what is what would your life look like 6 months from now when SEO is working for you and you don't have to be on social media 24/7?
Mm-hmm.
Or what would, like, imagine you stepping into this space where you're now getting inquiries from people that you never thought that you would ever get to work with, and now they're working with you. What would that, how would that feel? What would that experience be like?
Mm-hmm. That was really helpful. Thank you for giving the example. Well, for anyone listening, if you want to see this in real life, we'll link the sales page and Kinfolk's website so you guys can see how they approach it on their own website. I think that'll be really helpful for people to just see. And then obviously, if they want to work with you guys, then they've got the option. They're already there to inquire. So I want to come back to the visibility piece because you mentioned how there's a lot of fear around going towards that visibility, and I'm seeing a lot of that as well. You know, people are talking about how they want to be more visible, make their offers more known. They do want to share more of their opinions and where they stand, but there is a lot of fear and doubt that comes with that territory. And I'm curious on your end, what are some things that you have found to be helpful on taking that leap to become a bit more visible in the online space while being mindful of all of the emotions attached to it?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest traits of mine is that I'm very blunt.
Mm-hmm.
I am not afraid to call out like, hey, like I see in your questionnaire that you're saying this, but the copy that you are, that you love is not really aligning with what you're saying
Mm-hmm.
you want your copy to look like. And so I'm also like, we can write copy like this, but it also doesn't sound like that's the copy. That doesn't sound like the reason why you're hiring me.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I do have those conversations with clients and then they're like, "Oh, yes, that is aligning. That's definitely where I'm at." Other times it looks like maybe through the draft phase, the first draft is written in a very like I don't know, like a way that's like kind of safe. Like
Mm, yeah.
it's more like it has a little bit of connection and personality, but it's not fully what they want to communicate or how they want their copy to be experienced. And when they read through it, they're like, "Oh, I need to go a little bit deeper. I need to share a little bit more here." And so a lot of times that excavation that happens or that is just that first version is almost kind of like a testament of like, I don't know if that is really what I wanted to communicate. And so
Mm-hmm.
the conviction leads them to give me a lot more information. And I
Mm-hmm.
also like during the draft too, like if there's even like sections or parts that I'm like, I have this information, but it's also like it's still not layered enough. I will leave a comment and I will let them know like, "Hey, like here's what I'm thinking we need to add to this section or here's what I'm thinking I need from you." Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that will go into the second draft through that revision process.
This almost sounds like what I've heard about the process behind writing a book, where you've got an editor who is going to help pull even more out of you because they know it's going to be so valuable for the reader.
Right.
I totally get wanting to play it safe. You're also reminding me of, I heard a quote month or two ago where someone talked about how inauthenticity leads to attracting the wrong people. Attracting the wrong people creates mixed results. Creating mixed results leads to feeling like a fraud. And I thought that was such a great synopsis of why it is so important to just lean into the fear and work on bringing that, for lack of a better word, authenticity more to the front and center, because you're also going to connect with the right people for your offers. And that's going to lead to far more fulfillment on both sides. I think everyone listening knows what it's like to work with a client who was not the great fit, but it got you here. But if you can help it, you don't want to be in that place again. And copy plays such a big role in that.
Yeah, and I always share too, like there's a question in our questionnaires that talk about, like what are the clients that you don't want to work with, or have you had an experience where you've worked with like, I don't know, like a yellow flag client or maybe even a red flag, and like taking that information from that experience and using that to influence their copy moving forward, so that we can make sure that we're not targeting those people. And I think that there was a bit in the questions that I answered, but, like, that saying of, like, "I'm not for everyone, and that's okay." Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that even just having that mindset opens up a lot more for creatives and clients to be okay with being more visible, because it kind of takes away that pressure. And I think sometimes it's even rooted in just scarcity of like, wait, I need to be for everyone so that I always have clients coming in, but it also is taking away the joy and the passion that you even started the business for. So
Agreed.
As we kind of start to wrap up here, for someone listening to this that is seeing that, oh, I am not being specific or authentic enough or putting enough of my own stories into my copy, is there one thing that they can do today that will already put them on a better path to their own copy?
yeah, I think one of the biggest pieces is looking at their copy and reflecting on who are they talking to. Are they finding themselves mainly talking about their business, or are they talking to their ideal clients like as they would be if they were meeting up for coffee and they were asking them questions? And is their copy answering those questions?
Mm. Yeah. Similarly, do you have any go-to prompts that you recommend to get people started?
I don't have any go-to prompts, but something that I often do share is that during that process, you do not have to write it like a website. You can literally just list it in bullet points of like things that you want to say. The editing process can be a few rounds. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. It can just be brain dumps. It can just be things that you just thought of when you were in your car driving and you quickly voice note it back to yourself. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be something that needs to be perfected the first time.
Yeah. That's such a reassuring note to start to wrap up. Let's move into lightning round. We love to end every episode with just a couple quick rapid fire questions to get to know you more and end on a fun note. So the first question is, how many times have you written the copy for your own website?
I am on revision 2.
Nice.
And it well, I say revision 2, but like the first round was last year when we launched our website. And as I have worked with a lot more creatives and also even found my own space of like what I want visibility to look like, sometimes that has not really aligned with some of the copy that I had written before. And so I'm in revision round 2 of copy. And it's actually a lot easier to write because I'm very clear of who I want to write for and what I want to say.
Love that.
I
Yeah.
love that for you.
Very cool.
What book are you currently reading?
Ooh. I am reading Seek the Traitor's Son
What is it?
by Veronica Roth.
Is it a fiction or nonfiction?
It isn't fiction.
Nice.
Veronica Roth is the author of the Divergent series.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And this is her new world that she is building. So this is book 1.
Interesting. Is it good?
Nice. So far it is good. And this one is actually for adults. It's not for like more that like teenage age, like
Yeah.
the Divergent series was. And I loved that series. So I'm excited to see how she builds this world.
I love that.
remember really liking Divergent years ago when I read it, when I was in that age. So I'm now curious. Who are you learning from right now?
You guys.
Other than us.
Yes, you guys. I also am, I feel like I learned so much from even just like working with our clients and our experience. We always in our like feedback form always ask for like what could have been better or what can we improve moving forward. And so there's sometimes some really good nuggets there that influence some of the decisions that we make in the future. And then I am learning from my mentor, BTL Copy. I've been working with her for a year and a half, and she's been really helpful and really helping me like step into what I want copy to look like for our business, not how she's built her copy business or how other people or other students in the space have built their copy business.
That's very cool. I love that. Okay.
Is there any way that you are using AI right now that's actually helpful?
Zach uses it to be his golf coach.
Amazing.
Is this by like giving it videos of his swing, or how does this work?
That's amazing. I love that.
He'll also ask, like, he's like, hey, I'm looking at this club. Would this be a good upgrade for where I'm at in my golf journey? And sometimes it says some things that are really helpful, and then other times it doesn't. Like, he had this golf club that actually had a women's shaft on it, and he didn't know. And because it was just like a thrifted golf club. And he asked like what the letters meant. And I can't remember what like AI said, but it was something so silly. And he's like, that's not what that means. I'm like, why did you even ask AI? You already knew. And I think that that is a good separate conversation about how using AI really does impact your self-trust.
Ooh, true.
Absolutely.
Very true.
But yeah, for me specifically, like I guess like business wise, I use the Google AI section that like when I'm sending emails. Sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, I can like I'll like accept the suggestion sometimes because it's a lot more clear." I think that's where my conversational like copywriting style like does sometimes get a little like chaotic because I'm just like writing how I would like speak.
I love it.
But that's easier, especially when I need to like relay something very clear about like next steps or this is what I need from you.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't really use AI outside of that. I use it personally for like some like recipes, especially gluten-free stuff.
Yep. Totally with you
Made
there.
life a lot easier, especially with trying to figure out like what ingredients I have and how to make the dish that I want to make, but make it gluten-free.
Yep. 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 Okay, so I'm going to add in a spontaneous question here for all the other gluten-free girlies and boys who are listening. What is your current gluten-free hyperfixation snack?
Ooh, it is these chocolate covered pretzels, and they are so, so yummy. I just love them so much.
Okay, send them to me after this because I miss having chocolate-covered pretzels and I didn't know they existed. So I'm also gluten-free if anyone did not know that. Okay, cool. I love that. All right, last question is, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I am curious if you guys have ever hired a copywriter.
I've worked with a copywriter in the past for an email sequence that I did for a launch on Instagram. This is back in, was it 2020, I think? And it was incredibly helpful. You know, she sat down with me and we talked about a lot of the things here. You know, what is the purpose that someone would buy? What are the things I care about? What are they going to get out of it? All of that stuff. And then she turned it into, I think it was a 5-part email sequence for me. And it did make a really big difference. And what I loved about it is I was able to then repurpose some of that into the Instagram content too, which I think that's a note worth making here too, is that yes, hiring a copywriter is going to be an investment, but think about all the ways you're able to repurpose that copy across the board. Like that is invaluable. So yes.
I think one of my favorite frames for like copywriting for a website like as an investment is people that will then like take sections and make content out of it, and like you have a month worth of content based on a really good written website that you can start just recycling some of that evergreen content.
Yeah.
So on that note, how can people connect with you guys if they want to ask any follow-up questions about anything in today's episode, or if they do want to work with you guys?
Yeah, we're thekinfolkcreative.com, and we're also the Kinfolk Creative across all social media, Pinterest, Instagram, Threads, TikTok.
Everywhere, very consistent.
Literally everywhere. And one of the things that we are currently booking right now is SEO projects and copy projects for the fall. And we also have our blogging membership is relaunching on September 1st. It's called The Publishing House, and it's a done with you offer. It's one of my favorite spaces that we've created yet. Sorry, Zach. But I love writing a lot more.
It's amazing. Well, guys, we'll leave all of those links in the description for you guys, so it makes it easy for you to go check out more of Priscilla and Zach's work, get to know them. They're really fun to follow on Instagram. And like I mentioned earlier in this conversation, their email list is fantastic. So please sign up for that as well. It's a good time. Thank you so much for all of the knowledge that you dropped today, Priscilla. This has been incredibly valuable. I know that everyone's got a lot of notes, and hopefully you'll have a lot of people reaching out to work with you even more.
Thank you. It's been so fun getting to yap with y'all today.
Same. Bye.